If you've been with somebody who is a narcissist or high in narcissistic traits, and if you've come to that point where you started to respect the person, you started to emotionally invest in that person, you started to care about that person, and they notice that, then they quickly devalue you in their eyes because the fact that you can pour any type of caring, compassion, or emotional investment to them is a signal of your weakness and your own brokenness. And that's why when you get close to people who are very high in toxic traits, like narcissists or people high in narcissistic traits, they they quickly reach that point where they start pulling back. They start devaluing you in their eyes. And it's not just in their eyes, because they devalue you through their actions, words, and behaviors as well. And most often they reach that point where they end up pushing you away, or you end up departing the relationship simply because it's not working anymore. The few who do hang around are the ones that are being strung along because they might have their own brokenness where they don't want to detach from the narcissist. But either way, you reach that point where you become devalued and very often discarded by the narcissist. And narcissists, they can only have a clean break with someone if they have someone else or something else to focus their attention onto, because they need to get their supply needs met. And although you might not be offering much by way of supply after they've devalued you, you still offer them some supply just because you look up to them in some way. Maybe you're dependent on them. But if they're getting richer supply elsewhere, then you might see them disappear or just give you the full discard, ghost you. Perhaps they might never come back. And at that point in time, when the narcissist discards you, you kind of feel like you're the one who's at a disadvantage and the narcissist is the one who's at the advantage. But the thing is, these roles inevitably reverse, because if you're someone who's not irreparably broken like they are, then you do have the opportunity to bounce out of the situation. You do have the opportunity to heal yourself. You do have the opportunity to feel better about yourself, and you do have the opportunity to apply yourself in things and people that matter. Whereas the narcissist, they become reliant on a new sense of euphoria. They become reliant on a new sense of ego boost, a new supply. Narcissists, the whole underlying theme of what they're about is they need distractions. They need distractions because they're empty. They don't really have a sense of identity. Nothing really gives them purpose apart from getting other people to devote everything they have, their time, resources, energy, love, and compassion towards them. But anyone who does devote those things to the narcissist can only actually keep the narcissist feeling good for a limited time before the narcissist starts to devalue that person. And then everything that person has to offer, because they've been devalued and chipped away at for so long, it starts to weaken and become less potent, which means the narcissist doesn't get their supply needs met anymore. And that becomes a cycle. So they monkey branch from person to person, or sometimes situation to situation, because it's not only people that give them supply. Sometimes they get supply from other types of situations. Sometimes they can garner attention from people, even superficially, if they want that ego boost, or they might have some kind of accomplishment that they feel strokes their ego in a way that makes them feel good about themselves. But having a primary supply by way of a person is something more reliable, because they can use that person to regulate them better than situations or other accomplishments. Usually, not always. But when they leave you behind, or when they leave other people behind, those people, they start to repair the wounds that the narcissist left. They start to they fill that gap, because narcissists, they are very empty people. A lot of people who are attracted to narcissists might have a sense of brokenness, but most of them, a lot of them at least, they're not perpetually broken. They do have the ability to heal. They do have things to work on, and they can work on those things. And that's why when you've been discarded by the narcissist, or when they've ghosted you, things for them at that moment, they might feel good about themselves, but things for them in the long run don't tend to work out very well, simply because they never ever get into a better situation. They get momentary highs by conquering new supplies. But each one is pretty shortly lived, and even if they keep people around longer term, they're just using those people to supply them in certain ways, and the potency isn't very great in the long run. So they're always in this difficult situation where they're never really feeling great because they don't have the ability to energize themselves from within. They don't have the ability to just connect with their core, connect with, the greater, whatever you want to call it, the greater source, your higher self, kind of just rejuvenating, revitalizing just through focus and feeling good and quietening your mind and doing all those things that help you to level yourself and get that kind of boost. Narcissists, they don't really have the ability to look within to feel good about themselves. They don't have the ability to look within to get any kind of boost. Everything for them is purely through other people, and they like getting their boost from other people who have the ability to self-regulate quite well in that sense. That's why they go after people who are very high in empathy, or people who are very high in, who have this high-flying energy naturally, people who are very bubbly, but maybe bubbly is not the right word. I think you understand what I'm saying. People who are very giving of their energy and also have a lot of good energy to give. Because narcissists, they're neither of those. They don't give very much, and they also don't have much good stuff to give. What they do is sometimes they pretend they have something good to give, but there's nothing really legitimate there. So that's why narcissists, you will find that people like that, or even just people who are very high in narcissistic traits, who aren't quite full-blown narcissists, they have this tendency to push people away and make people feel inferior. They have this tendency to devalue anybody who has any respect towards them, because if you respect them, that means you respect something that's completely broken. That must certainly mean there's something wrong with you or your judgment. But once the impact of their devaluation on you starts to wither off over days, weeks, months, whatever the time frame may be, and you start to feel better about yourself, then you're very quickly way above them again. And that's the issue. Well, maybe issue isn't the right word, but that's the whole point. It's because when you become above them again, then they see value in you again. And it's inevitable. If you have any sense of personal integrity, if you have any sense of you like who you are, if you have any sense of trust and belief and just connecting with yourself and connecting with the broader scheme of things, then you're always going to start feeling better over time. Whereas the narcissist, they're just trying to keep their head above water and trying to get enough boosts to make them feel good now and again. And they're trying to avoid the very dark, deep waters that they know is always just around the corner. And it is sad, because if you cared about the person, you might have thought, well, I wish I could help them. You might not think that immediately after they discard you, but as soon as you regather your bearings and you're feeling okay with yourself again, sometimes you feel sorry for them. But at the same time, you know that the best you can do is wish them well from a distance. And if you really, really do miss them, and if you really do care about them, then every now and again, take a few moments, think about them in a positive light, send some positive vibes their way, which I'm sure they will notice. And then you leave it at that, because if somebody's broken to the point where they will break anyone and anything that comes in their vicinity, of course you're not going to put yourself back out there. But if you care about them to the point where you want to do something, well, do what you can from a distance and just hope it helps. And then you focus on everything else, because if you think about your life and you think about the things you have going on, you probably have a lot of people who do need you and who can actually benefit from you. And you also have a lot of things you can do that will benefit your life and will benefit the lives of the people around you. And that's what you should be focusing on. And if you have people who you can't help, who you want to help, just wish them well. Not through any physical means, but wish them well in your mind, wish them well in your heart. Because these people tend to come back around. But it's up, you can't let them back into your physical world. In your kind of mental world, the harm is much less. In their physical world, the more tangible, the harm can be much more. So just prioritize yourself. Acknowledge that they cannot be fixed, or at least that you're not the one who's going to fix them. And just acknowledge that you may have felt worse when they discarded you, but very quickly you come into yourself again, and they're kind of stuck in this rut and this cycle, which never ends. Thanks for watching.